Hello, everyone. Merry Christmas. We are now 2 weeks away from Christmas at the end of fall semester of 2022. And I want to welcome you to our last lecture of our 16-week overview of the history of Christianity. My name is Professor Joseph Holbrook, and this week we'll conclude our discussion of the shift of Christianity from Europe and North America to the global South with a discussion of Latin American Pentecostalism. This is the core required introduction for our 15-credit certificate in Christian Studies in the fall of 2022 in the Religious Studies Department at Florida International University in Miami, Florida. So we've already talked about Christianity in China, in Korea, in post-colonial Africa. So today we're going to talk about Pentecostalism in Latin America, which has been quite a phenomenon. Latin America was colonized by Spain and Portugal during the 16th and 17th centuries, with the result that Catholicism, and particularly Iberian Catholicism, became the established religion of the region. Immigration from Europe, particularly from Germany, led to small Protestant communities being founded in many parts of the continent during the 19th century. I should say Germany and Great Britain. Protestants were referred to in this region using the Spanish term evangelicos, and they were generally seen as an elite minority. They were never seen as a threat to Catholicism, retaining their historic European denominational beliefs without much of an outrage to the local population. The rise of Pentecostalism in the region, which dates from the first decade of the 20th century, has significantly altered its religious dynamics. A revival broke out in a Methodist church at Valparaiso, Chile, in 1909, and it set the scene throughout the region, now generally referred to as the revival, or in Spanish, the avivamiento. Although this was assisted by missionaries from the Pentecostal denominations in the United States, Latin American Pentecostalism has retained its own distinctive identity. So one of the questions that sociologists ask is, why has Pentecostalism expanded so rapidly in Latin America? Sociological studies suggest that the accelerated transformation of Pentecostalism in Latin America has a number of causes, including its openness to adaptation and its ability to resonate with local cultural beliefs, values, and political issues. Whereas the 19th century Protestant movements represented a religion of the written word, which often led to their invitation to Latin America to operate schools, to advance education, Pentecostalism is essentially an oral religion that makes virtually no educational demands on its followers. The rise of Latin American Pentecostalism has transformed the religious dynamic of the region. In Brazil, Chile, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Pentecostals now far outnumber all other Protestant groups, and on some projections may soon constitute the majority of the country, the religious majority, that is. Pentecostals are also growing rapidly in areas adjacent to Latin America, such as the Caribbean, where Jamaica, Puerto Rico, and Haiti, and I might add the Dominican Republic, have seen large increases. One of the interesting comments about Brazil is that Brazil represents the largest number of Roman Catholics in any single country in the world, and at the same time contains the largest number of Pentecostals of any country in the world. So Brazil is a very unique case and a very religious country, because in addition to the Roman Catholics and the Pentecostals, there's also the Afro-diasporan religions such as Umbanda and Candomblé. This rise of Pentecostalism in Latin America points to a phenomenon called free market religion. The greatest transformation of the Latin American religious landscape in the past 50 years has been the transition from a form of monopoly, religious monopoly, to a free market religious sphere. Protestantism was a small yet significant presence in Latin America since the early 19th century, yet it did not flourish. Even with the disestablishment of Catholicism as the official state religion throughout Latin America between the middle of the 19th century and the first quarter of the 20th. Yet it was only with the development of Pentecostalism in the 20th century that the popular classes had a culturally appropriate alternative to Catholicism. I should probably say a little bit more about the free market concept. So the free market, laissez-faire religious concept is the idea that churches compete for adherents. And the competition, according to the free market theory of religion, is good and healthy because it forces them to provide a better product, and the competition forces churches that are not supplying a good spiritual product out of business. I tend to resist this idea of a capitalism of religion, but there it is. And there certainly is truth in the fact that a large number of the poor and marginalized and the working class in Latin America have chosen to go with Pentecostalism rather than the Roman Catholic Church. The growing influence of Pentecostalism in Latin America was probably assisted by decades of division and strife between the progressive and conservative wings of the Roman Catholic Church in the region, often associated with the rise of liberation theology in the 1960s and 1970s. Liberation theology was a theology that was initiated and developed in Latin America, which theorized that God it prefers or gives first preference to the poor in the gospel. And there's a number of scriptures that can be used to support that. The other aspect of liberation theology is that it makes use of some Marxist methodology or theory in its analysis of the structural conditions in Latin America. Recent papal visits to the region, such as Benedict XVI's visit in 2007, have sought to reestablish unity within the Catholic Church and reconnect the peoples of the region. This has involved a move away from political engagement and confrontation toward a more traditional emphasis on spirituality and pastoral care. Another interesting development in the Catholic Church in Latin America has been the rise of the Catholic Charismatic Renewal, which is a form of Pentecostalism within the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church, in some cases, has developed contemporary worship styles that are similar to Pentecostalism and mimic its informality, the raising of the hands and clapping, dancing, use of guitars, while maintaining the basic structure of the Catholic liturgy. Neo-charismatic elements within the Catholic Church have shown that the needs and expectations of many who might otherwise be drawn to Pentecostalism can be met within Catholicism. This is an example of what I was saying earlier about competition. The competition with Pentecostals has forced the Catholics to develop a more lively and emotionally expressive worship style. The rise of Pentecostalism outside the church has thus proved a potent catalyst for the development of the charismatic movement within it. After 4 centuries of religious monopoly, the Catholic Church has had to get used to having competition. Of course, because of the huge amount of immigration from Latin America to the United States, this raises questions about what religious influence Hispanic Catholicism will have on the United States in the future. It was predicted or expected that the growth of the Hispanic population in the United States would result in a corresponding growth in Catholicism. But because now many Hispanics immigrating to the United States are Pentecostals, that is not necessarily the case. Hispanics are already the largest ethnic minority in the United States and are predicted to become the majority within the next 50 years. There's a little bit of poetic justice with the loss of such a large part of Mexico to the United States. Immigration is taking back what was lost through the military losses. It has traditionally been assumed that this will lead to the United States becoming more Catholic. However, Latino Pentecostal congregations have sprung up in most Latin American cities and are experiencing significant growth. So the religious future of the United States remains far more uncertain than many realize. So this brings us to a conclusion of our 16-week race through 2,000 years of history of Christianity. I will be putting this course online. If you're interested in taking it, it'll be available both in person and online next year at the in the Religious Studies Department at Florida International University. And this course will be the core required introduction for our 15-credit certificate in Christian Studies here in Miami, Florida. For more information, please feel free to reach out to me. Contact me at jholbroo@fiu.edu or my personal email, joseinmiami@gmail.com. JOSEN as in Nancy, MIAMI@gmail.com, or call me on my cell phone 786-395-5402. I'll be happy to answer your questions and assist you in getting involved in our program. You can also locate me on Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn using my personal email. Thank you, and I'll be back in a few weeks with a new series on Introduction to Latin American History. And hopefully next year I'll be developing some more courses on Christian theology and Christian mysticism. Thank you. Take care. Have a wonderful holiday season. Goodbye.